Freddie, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
If you just want to start off by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about your business.
So how did I get into Oak and Black? I got into Oak and Black sort of as a result of becoming ill. I thought I had the flu, but it transpired to be post-viral fatigue. I'd just come back from Kuala Lumpur playing touch for Scotland, and sort of shortly after that, I became quite ill, just with the thought it was a flu, but my energy never came back in it, and the doctor said it was post-viral fatigue. A lot of that came from just doing probably too much. I'm a little bit greedy for life. I'm a little bit, want to do everything, and it's always good stuff. It's always stuff that I really love. But looking at things, look at the way sort of my personality is. I want to do sort of all things all the time and make the most of a day. But what I'm realizing is that I'm not 20 anymore, and you've only got so much energy. So there was that, and we'd had a few sort of heavy life hits. Everyone gets life hits, and I'd seem to have them concurrently from 2014 to 2019, sort of significant things each year. And as much as I felt I was managing it, through sort of exercise and talking to people and whatnot, I think it sort of got to a point where that sort of it must have had an impact. Going 100 miles an hour for 20 years had an impact. I put a load of effort and focus into getting into the Scotland over 30s mixed team for the World Cup. It was a new sport for me. I'd only been playing it 14 months, so I put a huge effort into getting there, and then a huge effort into the tournament itself, which was amazing. But yeah, just I think sort of life was giving me little nudges along the way to sort of slow down and sort of rethink things. And after a while, it just sort of took me out of the game, took me off the board, and said, "Look, we've given you chances. You're not doing enough about it." So it just basically took it out of my hands and basically just pulled the plug on me, and my energy just went. So it feels very much now like I'm rebooting. But during that time, it was incredibly frustrating. My brain power went, obviously my physical energy went, I wasn't able to concentrate. And there was a real existential crisis, thinking, well, I need to be there for my pupils. I want to be there. And there's a real anxiety that came from that. And then, so I sort of tried to rest as best I could during the summer of 2019. And then I went back to school in August 2019, and I did the full term. And before I realized I was going to get post-viral fatigue, I'd signed up to coach, head coach a women's rugby team in Edinburgh, a game which I absolutely loved. But it was, 2 nights a week, then Sunday matches, and everything in between that goes along with that. I ran the under-16s rugby program at my school. I was assistant head. I ran the PSHE program. I taught design technology, and you do a boarding house duty in the evening. So I basically didn't have a day off. So I went from trying to rest over the summer straight back into doing everything plus, which in hindsight, you look back in it as a little bit daft. But I everything I was doing, I loved. And and coaching and teaching energized me, but then it's like there was no time for me to sort of flop and lie on the couch and do nothing. No, I've always worked at least 6 days a week. So I got through to December 2019. Said, right, I'm gonna have a good rest now. So I had a good rest. So it all built up to points with the women's team. We had played the Premiership final on the 15th of December 2019, and they did a great job and won it. And after that point, I was like, right, now I get to sort of switch off and rest for a bit. And I did. I had a good sort of Christmas period. And then the January 2020, we do in-service training, and on the second day, the night before the pupils came back, I just got what I felt was the heaviest cold I've ever had. And then my energy left again completely, and it felt worse than what it was at the start. And from that point on, I was signed off work. And again, I wouldn't say arguing with the doctor, but I was certainly pleading my case to say, no, a month is too long. I'll be signed off for 2 weeks, see who I am. And I did that over the course of pretty much the term. And whereas if I was coaching someone, I'd say, look, just take a big chunk of time off and try and get yourself right. We're often better at telling other people and sort of coaching others than listening to ourselves. But the big thing for me was, when COVID came and lockdown came, it was obviously a horrendous time. But for me, in my own selfish little bubble, it actually took a lot of pressure off me, because the message I was getting was, you want to be there, you want to show people that you care, you want to be back doing what you're doing. But even if you wanted to, and even if you were able to, you can't. So you have to now rest and let your body recover. So it was a blessing in disguise for me. So I'm a big believer that there's always a positive solution. There's always good in things that happen to us, and a lot of things can happen to us, but there's always something in there. There's always a lesson in there. There's always something good that we can take from it. And when you're right in the middle of it, it's hard to see that. But when you get some perspective, when you get a bit of distance and time between events, you look back and you ask yourself the questions: what is this teaching me? What did that teach me? And I suppose what it's taught me is, I've got to put myself first more. And having spent a lot of time reflecting, and this, I think this will resonate with a lot of business owners, is, we often spend our time putting other people's needs first. And it's a very human thing, and it's almost easier. Whereas I had a lot of time to sort of be introspective and connect with what matters to me, how I want to feel. And I think that's really, really important, is actually connecting, not what I want to do, what I want to have, it's how I want to feel. I did start to get a little bit of brain power back, a little bit of energy back, and I started doing little bits and pieces. And one of the things I tried to do was be a little bit more courageous online and sort of post things. And I've had conversations with friends, and one in particular said, look, you do interesting stuff all the time, you should be posting it. In my mind, it's like, well, it's just stuff, it's just normal stuff. But he said, look, to other people, that's actually quite interesting. So I tried to do a little bit more of that. I created a summer school for children called Make, which where they come and spend a week in the summer with me and the team, and they make a woodwork project each day, and then do engineering teamwork challenges. And the kids loved that. So I had the channels already set up for that. So during lockdown, I would do sort of craft lessons and post that, and little things, projects that parents could do with their children at home. And I could record them when I had a good day, or I could record them when I had good energy. So I might do 2 or 3, but then the next day I wouldn't be able to do anything, or a couple, there's days where I'm not up and running till 11 a.m. But when I did have energy, I found actually I had enough brain power to actually get some stuff done, which again was really good. And I think when you've got such little control of the things that you can do, we focus on trying to get that control back. And what I felt was, rather than try and gain control, it's just focus on what can I create. So changing one C word for another C word. Let's forget about control. What COVID taught us is that we've got very little control of anything. I came up with the persona of the Silver Fox coach, which being a sort of silver-haired chap myself, and someone who coaches and likes to teach, it fitted quite well. But I run that as advice to my younger self. So everything that I would sort of coach or do helps me. And if the best way to help yourself is to help other people. And yeah, so it was posting online content, and I would sort of document my journey of the post-viral fatigue, but I would also just give little snippets of advice that I could have done with hearing when I was younger. So that was really helpful. And also what it did is a lot of people sort of got in contact and talked about, actually, I had ME, or I had this, so I had some like similar things and similar issues. So it means that we're opening up discussions and sort of just giving a bit of mutual support. So that was really nice. You know, and I didn't, I'm not, you know, I'm not going online desperate for likes and shares and whatnot. I made the decision of, if you're doing this, you're doing this for you. It's not for the external gratification. It's not to say you've got X amount of followers. It's purely for me, and it's for me. It's for me to have that outlet of coaching and teaching, even if it is directed at maybe the younger version of me. But I know that, like, lots of the people that I now coach, you know, sort of do follow it. So it's nice that they're able to sort of learn. And I think it's always better, you know, if you can learn from other people's mistakes, it saves you a heck of a lot of time and a lot of heartache. So if you're in that mindset where you're there to receive and learn and want to get better, then, you know, there's a lot of good content out there. And I just wanted to post what I felt was would have been helpful for me. So the Make Summer School, the Silver Fox Coach, and then sort of sitting during the summer of 2020, again, energy coming back a little bit, but very, very inconsistent. I was sort of sitting, sort of thinking about what my life might look like if I wasn't teaching. So as I realised that voluntary redundancy was on the table, you know, it's certainly nothing. It's certainly not a thing that I had ever considered, because, you know, I was in teaching for the long haul because I absolutely bloody loved it. I had a great job, you know, great kids, and, you know, I was in a position where, you know, I'd been there quite a while, knew the pupils, knew the parents, knew the old pupils, and just had a really good there's good mutual respect there, and a love for the place. So, you know, it was hard. So, but what I had to do was just sort of sit down at my dining room table and think about what specifically about it do I love, what do I enjoy, and just sort of take the time and give myself the space to break it down. So it was, you know, obviously interactions with young people, teaching. I might be teaching design and technology, a practical lesson. I might be teaching a theory lesson. I might be teaching personal social health education. I might be organizing an event where we've got external speakers coming in. I might be coaching rugby. I might be doing admin. I might be counseling an individual pupil. So all these things that I genuinely enjoyed. But I also know that with my personality, I need that variety. And if I were just to do one of those things, I know I could have drilled deeper into it and become maybe, you know, an expert, but it wouldn't have suited my personality. I need that variety, and that's what I think keeps things fresh, and that's for me, and it's not for everyone. I know I've got nothing but respect for people that drill deep into their area of expertise. In fact, back in 2012, I wrote a blog called "Never Trust a Skinny Chef," which was basically about really immersing yourself in your trade and your passion, and really believing in what you do, and looking at, you know, the sort of the dichotomy of, you know, are you a jack of all trades, or are you, you know, an absolute master at one of them? And for me, you know, I've always felt myself a bit of a jack of all trades, but at a decent level. And that's what feels right for me. And I think what's important for people is that they do what feels right for them. So I was sitting at my table, looking at all these things that I do. As well, I've got the Make Summer School. I've got my rugby coaching. I've got obviously teaching, and then as I was reflecting on my making of products and gifting to people, it just came to me, because I often work with oak, and then I sort of either engrave or, you know, sort of brand onto that. It comes out darker. So I just said, and I've got my oak and black.
Did you teach yourself all this, or had you been taught by somebody years and years before?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of exploration and doing something new. And yeah, I've always made from an early age, even as a kid. You know, if it's building go-karts, building tree houses, you know, my 7th birthday, I got a toolkit. I built myself a workshop in an old chicken hut at that age, and yeah, just really passionate for creating. And you know, and I think creating takes many guises. I view teaching as creating, coaching creating, because you're starting off with a vision and you're breaking it down into chunking it down into small parts and then rebuilding from the bottom up. But with that overarching sort of vision of where you want to get to and how you want to be. So creativity is a huge, you know, it has always been a huge driver for me. Yeah, so that all these things sort of seem to make sense. I was like, right, these are all the things that I could do. And then I came up with the sort of name Oak and Black, and as my energy sort of picked up a little bit more, I was able to have a bit of a play in the back garden during lockdown. And I built a couple of barrel bars, and didn't do myself any favors in terms of neighborly reputation.
I bet you got a few noise complaints.
Yeah, there's a bit of dust going around, but I knocked it on the head soon enough. As soon as we were able to move, my folks have got a place out in the sort of out in the sticks in East Lothian. So luckily enough, got out there where the noise wasn't too big an issue and the dust wasn't as big an issue. So I got out there and played a little bit more. Always think play is the highest form of research. You just got to go give it a go, explore, try things out, what works, what doesn't work, come up with the best ways. And yeah, I ended up taking that voluntary redundancy, and it gave me a few months. I was covered for a few months before I had no money. Basically, I was like, right, you've got these months, which is free time. There's no pressure. You know, the more you're not going to lose your house, so just take your time, rebuild, and just see where this goes. And I knew that, because what I didn't know is when my energy is coming back. You know, it's been 3.5 years. I'm still not there, but I'm a heck of a lot better than what I was. So yeah, so that to answer your question, which seemed about an hour ago, I suppose that's how the business started. But there's that big sort of long story that sort of went with it, and it was unexpected. It wasn't necessarily by design, but I think in some ways on some scale and in some realm it probably was by design. So yeah, so that's how Oak and Black started, and it's and I spent the following summer, 2021. Heck, it might even have been the back end of 2020. I can't remember. Clearing out an old cow shed and building a workshop. And yeah, just sort of making a start. So yeah, I'm just a big believer in sort of make a start and see where it goes. If you don't know what to do the next good thing. That was one of my Silver Fox coach posts. So having written it down, you've got to do it.
So you got the business up and running. Eventually, what was your initial objective when you started the business? Were you just seeing where it would lead to without planning it too much, or did you have a direct plan you wanted to follow?
It's a good question. So I didn't know where it was going to go. I had a sort of, my problem is I've got so many ideas, so many things that I can do. Well, so I felt it could do and could be. But what I decided to do from the outset, rather than say this is what it's going to be, this is what I want to have, this is what the business is going to do, I decided I'm going to establish the pillars of the business. And for me, I'm whether I've been teaching or coaching, I'm a big believer in understanding who you are, how you want to be, and what you want to represent. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of me in the business at the start, because it has to be. If you're starting a business, it's a lot of it's going to be about you in initial stages. Then I thought, right, look, 5 years time, 10 years time, if this is still going, how am I going to give myself the best chance of surrounding myself with the right people, with the right mindset, and doing the right thing? So I again went quite introspective and decided, right, I'm gonna establish no more than 3 values that this company is going to represent. So the company values for Oak and Black are kindness, creativity, sustainability. And that I was happy with that. I was that's any business plan can be built on top of that. So as long as it's kind, as long as it's creative, as long as it's sustainable, Oak and Black could be whatever it needs to be. And it meant, it gave me a freedom. It's not me saying, right, Oak and Black, I'm going to make barrel bars and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the #1 barrel bar salesman, because, you know, bear in mind, my energy wasn't great. So I had to give myself permission to, you know, not push myself too hard or not put myself under too much pressure. So as long as it's kind, creative, and sustainable, you know, Oak and Black can continue to explore. So year one, I gave myself one objective, which was build the brand. So I had two objectives: build the brand and put out quality. And, you know, I wasn't fussed about quantity. I wasn't fussed about, you know, big deals or whatnot. It was just be authentic with what you're looking to do. And that's how you build the brand. And then make sure that you're not biting off more than you can chew, because sometimes if you do that, or if you take on too much when you're not ready, you don't have your systems in place, you've not got your facilities up and running, then you might end up not necessarily cutting corners, but getting a bit, not being able to put out the best version of the work that you want to be doing. And so for me, I would rather make fewer products and know that they're right.
Was it hard in the beginning to sort of not overdo it again?
Yeah, oh, very much so. And I had to keep sort of keep reeling myself in. But the big focus for me was self-care, which I think a lot we're sort of typically bad at. I think as humans, we're not great at self-care. We think self-care is having a bath, where that might be part of it, but there's a heck of a lot more to it. When I was actually when my first sojourn into international touch was back in 2018. I'd lost a friend in 2017, and a way of doing something when you can't do something, you know, like say you can't control, but you can create. My way of sort of creating was, right, I'm going to take myself out of my comfort zone and learn a new sport. So I learned went and trialed in the January, managed to get in the men's over 35s team, played at the European Championships in July. Again, one hell of a journey for me. Just, you know, everything's new. I wasn't fit enough. I was very inexperienced. And, you know, I was the sort of the newest member of the squad, but took so much from that. And I remember the coach saying to me, well, he said to the squad, it's country first, then it's team, then it's self. And I remember thinking at that time, it didn't quite sit right for me at that time. It was team, country, self, because like I play for my mates, I play for my team. And then in the time that's followed, again, when I went to the World Cup, I'd basically flipped it on its head, and it's like, no, it's self, then team, then country, because you can't serve the team if you're not in the team. So for me, it was I had to give myself a good, hard, honest look in the mirror and say, look, you've made excuses all your life. You've made excuses all your life. Like, why weren't you a better rugby player? Why weren't you better this, that, and others? Because I made excuses. And I think that there was a freedom in admitting that. So getting to the World Cup for me was very pure, because there were no excuses. And I made that decision at the start, because I didn't expect to get picked. It's a mixed over 30s team. I'm 39 at the time. I'm one of the oldest, probably the slowest, least experienced. And, you know, but what I decided to do was flip that on its head and say, look, well, stop focusing on what you can't bring and focus on what you can bring. So I did that, and then everything changes. So instead of thinking, right, God, I'm slow, but I won't be outworked, I'll keep going, and I'll empty the tank every single training session, every single game. You know, I don't have experience, but by God, I can make sure we make use of the experience that's in the team. I can make sure that we're as energized and positive as we can be.
How did you sort of get out of the habit of making excuses? Because you talked about the change there when you had the complete change in mindset. What did you sort of do to sort of adapt that mindset?
Do you know, I don't know. I think it was just it was the only team. When I came back from the Euros, I made the decision of I want another go at this, but I've got to do it right. I've got to be better. And then when the teams that were available to go to the World Cup came out, it was like, well, the only team that I can realistically qualify for is the mixed over 30s. And I thought, God, well, if I just got into the men's over 35s, my chances are really, really low. So I suppose, I don't know if it was like a eureka moment. It was maybe just, if you want to do it, you've got to do it with a whole heart. So I just remember making that decision of, right, you've got to do it with the whole heart. Even if you're not selected, you're gonna be okay with not being selected, because you will know for you that you gave yourself the best possible chance of success. And that's all we can do, is give ourselves the best possible chance of success through our mindset, through our daily habits. So, you know, I can quite easily not drink alcohol. I can quite easily have a good diet. I can quite easily, you know, lay my trainers and shorts out by the bed and get up and train at 5 a.m. and then do another session later in the day. I can make sure that I'm organized. So these are things that I can control. You know, we talk about not being able to control much. You can control certain things. So I controlled what I could, and, you know, just sort of just went for it. And other things I could control was, right, well, I'm not that knowledgeable about the game. So I would speak to the coach, say, look, can I come around your house and do video analysis? I made up, I'm a visual learner. I'm quite a visual and tactile. So having that understanding, I was like, right, the coach is coaching me at these sessions, and I'm not getting the most out of it because of the way I learn and the way I take in information. So post sessions, you know, I made up a board with little counters with the positions. I said, look, you're talking to me, but, you know, I'm the 7-year-old kid looking out the window in the classroom. You know, I'm looking at birds in the trees when you're talking to me. I'm doing my best, and I'm an educator, so I know. So I'm saying, look, it's the old Jerry Maguire, help me, help you sort of thing. So I took a board and I said, look, with the counters, and said, look, show me what I need to be doing, where I need to be stepping, what we're trying to achieve here, so I can have a better understanding of the bigger picture. And look, and luckily I had a great coach. That makes a difference. I had great teammates. That makes all the difference, having the right people around you. That gave me a good chance of success too. So I did all that. We did extra fitness sessions. These are all things that I can control. You know, I'm not gonna get 5 years experience in a matter of months, but I can do what I can to give myself the best chance. And you know, I can encourage others, I can support others, I can do all the things that I can do and focus on that. So I did that, and, you know, didn't count my chickens, and luckily was picked. And once I was picked, that's when I felt, right, now I've got a real responsibility to sort of double down and make sure that it's now about me and the team. So get my own habits, keep them going. But now I've got the added sort of responsibility of, I'm also now part of a team. So it's really important that I'm ready when the time comes to play my part in that team. And then by doing that, by making sure the team is going as well as it can, that's how you represent your country or whatever it is you want to represent. So, you know, it very quickly flips from country, team, self to self, team, country. And I've just sort of taken that mindset forward. So I think all these things that have happened to me have happened for a reason. And it's shown me that I have got the resilience to start from scratch. I have got the resilience and the determination and drive to you know, have the plug pulled on me and reboot and start again and be out of my comfort zone. That's where we grow. And while it didn't feel like that at the time, looking back, it's taught me so much. So, and again, I think there'll be so many people out there that are in very similar situations, that have been out of their comfort zone, or they've had things forced on them that they didn't expect. But if they look back and, you know, reflect on it, they'll think, my God, you know, I've done all right. I've done pretty damn well here. And we need to get better at patting ourselves on the back. So for what I've carried forward from all that, then obviously got post-viral fatigue and have been managing that, and then starting the business, I've tried to maintain that self first. So for me, give myself the best possible chance of feeling good. So like I say, it's not about what you have and what you want to do. How do I want to feel? So I wrote that down on I've got it upstairs in my office on my pin board, A4 sheet, how I want to feel as a sort of spider diagram, and the words are written around it, how I want to feel every day. Underneath that, I have written, what are my daily habits? And then the daily habits are the actual practical things that are going to give you the best possible chance of feeling that way, the best possible chance of success. And for everyone, that's going to be different. For me, it was, I do, well, I got into obviously looking at lots of different ways to try and energize yourself and feel better. So I had to change my diet. So I had to, I realized that I'd become intolerant to quite a lot of foods.
Was that through the condition you developed, or was it you've always had it?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think it was maybe part of like my body just sort of resetting, rebooting, and some of the foods were sort of inflammatory. So, and having had conversations with people about this, I found out actually, yeah, I'm the same. I'm similar. I had to cut this out, or I'm now celiac, or I have to stay away from dairy. So I got this long list of all the foods I ate every day. Was just, you can't eat these anymore. So I just went cold turkey on everything. And I've been reintroducing them back. And I now know that as long as I stay away from wheat, I'm generally okay. I can do dairy in moderation now, whereas I couldn't do that before. And lots of other things. I've just sort of reintroduced them. So on my daily habits list, it's, healthy diet. Make sure that you're eating right and giving yourself the best chance of feeling good, because your gut is so important. 90% of messages go from the gut to the brain. And we're just sort of human antenna. We're picking up things all the time, but we've got to keep that gut healthy. I have a cold bath every day. I've done that up in nearly 3 years. So just get in the cold bath, because it's a real energizer. When the reservoir's frozen, I'll be up there with a hatchet breaking through, going through the ice. But it's a 10-minute drive and a 30-minute walk to get there. So I'm not doing that every day. I was like, well, I don't live that close to sea. I'm not going to go there. I've made ice baths for other people out of the large casks. But again, I might say, it's got a few leaves in it, I'm not going to get in, or I might make an excuse. So I said, right, what's the easiest way for me to do cold water immersion? Just have a cold bath every day. And that's it. So it's a real tester. So for me, it's your body doesn't want to get in, your mind doesn't want to get in, but your being yourself is like saying, but we're getting in anyway. And it was my way of saying I'm in charge. My mind, when my mind's sort of talking smack, no, you're not in charge, mate. When my body's not got energy, you're not in charge right now. I'm in charge, and we're getting in this bath. And when we get out, we're going to feel fantastic. And it still is a bit of that, but it's a bit more habitual now. It becomes muscle memory. You get up in the morning, you have your cold bath, you get up, you get on with your day. So that becomes routine. So that's a positive habit that helps me. So mentally, physically, it's an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, we've not really talked about that on the podcast yet, actually.
What, cold water therapy?
No, not just that, as in the sort of the benefits of eating healthy, keeping active, and sort of the benefits of that it leads on to business and sort of performance.
Oh, 100%. Well, Charlie from your second podcast spoke about the importance of sleep, and that's another one that's on there. That's absolutely on there. People don't take sleep maybe seriously enough, or we get by, or we're sort of, and we're saying, oh, I've only had 5 hours sleep last night and I'm crying. We sort of turn it into a bit of a hero thing, where actually, do you know what, you need sleep. We need sleep. So that's a big part of it as well. So I've got the healthy eating, the cold water therapy, for me it's like making a point to laugh every day, just have a bit of crack with people, and just try and be more lighthearted, because the few years before I got the fatigue, I like I said, I had some heavy hits, and there was some depression in there. With the post-viral fatigue, developed into some anxiety, which I hadn't had before, which was horrible. But with the depression, I felt I was managing it through exercise and talking. but I'd felt myself going further and further inside myself and not being as light as I used to be. I didn't feel my normal self. So, and I feel way better now than what I did, but I'd struggled for a few years. And looking back on it, it's like, God, you did struggle for a good while. So that's why my focus is on how I want to feel rather than what I want to do or what I want to have. It's how do you want to feel and how can you give yourself the best chance of success? So laughing, speaking to people, making the point. There'll be lots of people running small businesses that are almost, I'm sure they feel quite isolated because there's so much to do all the time and you're wearing so many hats. Just taking time out to just chat to people or get out, go to the shops or take your dog a walk and bump into people in the park or just phone a friend, meet up with someone. Massively important. I read every night. This was a trick from when I was house mastering, when I would be working from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. and that was I was on 7 days a week, full on. Again, loved the job, great job, but it's got a shelf life. Certainly the way I did it, it had a shelf life. And I couldn't switch off in the evenings. I'd go to bed, my head's absolutely buzzing, and all I'm thinking is, oh crap, I didn't email so and so back, or I need to do this, or this kid's got an appointment in the morning, or so and so's got a flight to there, I've got to organize that, and I'm already in tomorrow. I'm worrying about what's happened that day. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm anywhere but where I should be, which is in the present. So they talk depressions in the past, anxieties in the future. We need to try and spend more time in the right now. And any lessons that I've been through that can benefit others, my God, take them. Don't learn them firsthand if you don't need to. So reading, and I started reading every night, which is something I never did as a kid. I was always, playing sport, making stuff, moving my body, not sort of being calm and being present and being sort of just in my own space. So reading was a big thing. But then I started taking, I'll read this, and I'll read this business management book, I'll read this on, but then it would just get my brain going again. So what I found was, no, you need to read fiction, and you need to take yourself off to another land and detach yourself, and then that basically would help me nod off, because it switched me off. Because if you stay on all the time, you just cannot function. So I needed to get from a state of surviving to thriving, and you can't do that if you're on all the time. You need a bit of off time. So reading fiction was huge for me, and I've done it every night since. I'll just plow through books. Some nights I'll read for an hour and a half. Some nights it might be 15 minutes, and I'm nodding off. But I read every night, and that's my switch off.
It's that element of helping you shut off from all the worries, all the stresses about the next day.
No, definitely. Again, you're not going to do anything about it lying in bed. I mean, you're better off live to fight another day. So get up and refresh yourself. Yeah. So I think a lot of folk will certainly, that'll resonate with a lot of folk. Sleep hygiene is just massive. We don't have a TV in the bedroom. Never had that. That's not the place to watch TV. For me, I'm not, no judgment on anyone else, but for me, it needs to be. I won't use my phone in the bed unless it's to put on a meditation. So now I've gone into hypnotherapy. So I meditate. The meditation's another thing on my list. So I meditate most mornings, not all mornings. And then in the evening after reading, I've got my headphones and I'll do a hypnotherapy. So I started wearing a Fitbit a couple of years ago, and that was because I didn't feel I was getting enough sleep or good quality sleep. And the first year and a half of the post-viral fatigue, you will sleep most of the day. You'll sleep all the way through the night, and you'll wake up never feeling rested. And that is it's a form of torture. Literally a year and a half, I just never felt rested. And then with the Fitbit, as I started to get a sort of slightly better, slightly a little bit more energized, I got the Fitbit on and I was tracking it, and I was thinking, right, what are the patterns here? How can I give myself the best chance of getting a deep sleep? And just the last half year of I've been doing hypnotherapy at night, and then to obviously check my tracker results the next day, and not all the time, but typically it's getting my deep sleep percentage up. You still need to combine, you know, activity with that. So I'm still quite active, although I can't fully train or get my heart rate too high, because then I'm like a burst balloon for the next few days. But within moderation, if I'm coaching and I'm walking, or if I'm in the workshop and I'm busy, these are the days, combined with all the other good habits, that I'll get a good sleep, because it's just that combination of body and mind. So yeah, so just getting these good habits drilled in, and then build one thing in and do it consistently for a month, and then it just becomes normal, and then add in the next one. Don't try and do everything at one time. I always say to folk, you know, if you're trying to lose weight, pick one thing out your diet and reduce it. You know, if you take 2 sugars in your coffee, cut down to one sugar. Next month, do no sugars, see how you get on. Month after that, try reducing the actual amounts of coffee you're drinking, or switch to tea, or, you know, we try and be in year 10, we're in year 2 when it comes to business. That's what I've tried to reel myself in from doing. But it's the same in anything. Just we become what we habitually do. So just do the little things regularly, and it adds up. It adds up. It's you know, it's, a banker would say, it's compound interest. It's just compound interest, just little bits, little steps every day, and you'll get there. By the time you look up, my God, you've probably gone further than you were planning to go.
I think a lot of people struggle with that, don't they? Narrowing it down to one thing, doing all the little things with consistency. They don't see that the consistency will pay off in the end.
That is the word right there. It's consistency. And you know, go and look at the Silver Fox Coach on Instagram. Why, my favorite post, I used to use this with the pupils all the time. Consistently good is outstanding. Consistently good is outstanding. And I'd say this to the kids, because, you know, as teachers, as adults, we're very good at telling pupils what they're doing wrong or what they're not getting right. But you know what? If you step back and just flip that coin, they get a hell of a lot right. And what I always aim to do was show them that I see that. If you give them a positive label, if you give people a positive label, they'll live up to that. If you give them a negative label, they'll live up to that. And it used to always irk me when, you know, in the staff room, if a member of staff would say, "Oh, I've got 4C, oh, they're a pain, blah, blah, blah." You've not got 4C. You've got 20 one-to-one relationships for which you're responsible. You're the adult, you're the professional. It's your job to nurture every single one of those relationships and give that child the best experience, and light a fire under them, make them passionate about something. That's our job as teachers. That's our job as coaches. That's our job as bosses, is to appreciate that one-to-one relationship, nurture it, light a fire under them. Not everyone's going to take on that passion, but by God, there'll be a few. So yeah, people will live up to labels. I forgot the point. Sorry, I started blethering.
It's all right. It's all right. So meditation, you were talking about that. That's something I've never actually tried.
Yeah.
Usually, if I'm trying to switch off, I'll go for a run. I feel that helps. I'll read sometimes, either maybe even watch a film. But meditation is something I've never tried. What more could you tell us about that?
Going for a run is a form of meditation. You know, it's not necessarily sitting cross-legged going on. It's, you know, it's giving yourself, it's just giving your mind space. You know, some people, I think, you know, Charlie, when on his one, talked about when he's on his motorbike, he has to, you know, that you get your best ideas when you give your brain just a chance to just be and just let the dust settle. You know, I've got 2 weeks off coming up, and it's the first 2 weeks I've taken off in over 3 years. And, you know, my wife's in the States, our family's from the States, so she's just gone over. I didn't want to go over too early just because I didn't know what Christmas was going to look like. So I'm going over, you know, next week. And I know that I'll still do a bit of work, but I'll do it at my own pace. I'll do it in a different place. And that's when I'll have my best ideas and I'll get more clarity. It's just about getting clarity. For me, it's about getting clarity. So with meditation, I do guided meditations. So there's a guy called Joe Dispenza that does really good meditations, but there's lots and lots of options out there. And just like anything, you build up to them. I'm sort of a, just jump straight in and go full on. That's my sort of personality. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it with the whole heart. So I went straight into doing like 45-minute meditations, and your mind's going to wander, and that's okay. But as you get more used to it, you'll actually just you'll sort of tune in a bit quicker. You'll calm down a bit quicker because your mind knows it's coming. It's like muscle memory. If you're shooting baskets and you've been doing it for 20 years and you've got a free throw coming up, you're not thinking about it. Your body's just doing it, and it's the same sort of thing but reversed for your mind in a meditation. So like with the hypnotherapy, for example, the one I'm doing just now, I know sort of what's coming with it, but it still shuts me down after sort of 10-15 minutes, and I'm like, oh my god, I've just gone to sleep. But that's what you're meant to do, because it talks to your subconscious rather than your conscious. And it's similar with the meditation. Now, my wife's the expert in this. Now, this is what she does. This is sort of her realm, and not just meditation. A lot more, something called theta healing and sort of general sort of wellness. And that's at Jennifer Main with Jennifer.com. With Jennifer.com, you sort of see what she does there. But it was also during lockdown. I actually said to her, look, I think it would be really beneficial for people if you offered morning meditations. So she did that every morning consistently, like 8 o'clock, and I would be up. And this is when I've got fatigue, and I'd be sitting in the living room. She'd be doing it on Facebook Live. I'd be sitting with her in the living room doing the meditation, and I'd end up nodding off. And sometimes there'd be a couple of she's having to give me a little nudge. But it was doing enough for me to sort of give my mind real peace. I don't tend to sort of necessarily sleep through now, but I do zone out, and I think that's what you're meant to do. But meditation takes all sorts of forms. But for me, I always look for the practicality of it. What does that actually mean? What does it look like? How does this benefit me? And meditation has been huge for me because it's given me space. It's calmed me, and it's given me the space I need in my life for the right things to find me. So what we often do is we're fighting against life so hard, we're so tense, we're plowing through, we're going for it, but sometimes just let life happen. And the serendipity that has occurred throughout my Oak and Black journey has been absolutely spectacular. Opportunities have come that I didn't expect to come, and part of that is me having the courage to put myself out there and be a bit brave, and part of it is people are attracted to what I'm offering, and you're not going to be all things to all people. You're not going to please everyone, but if you're authentically doing what you're doing it with passion, and I suppose you're doing it with consistency, then the right people will find you. I'm a big believer in that because I've seen it happen. It's working for me. And in teaching, there genuinely was a eureka moment in teaching for me when I became a better teacher overnight. And it was very, very simple. It was the realization of, it's not about me. This is not about me. And as soon as I just twigged to that, I was like, oh, the pressure is off. And it's not about me going into a classroom and proving what I know, proving that I know this, that, and other, or that I've got, it's not about that. It's about their experience. It's what they take from it. And I honestly, God, became a better teacher overnight for that one realization.
Do you think a lot of people don't get to that point where they realize it's not actually about them?
I don't know. I just think I think societies, we're just a go society. And like my anxiety that I developed was from not wanting people to think that I'm at it. Oh, you got fatigue. What? You're just a bit tired. Oh, you're skiving work. And I'm, looking back, people say to me, look, you're one of the hardest working guys here. I enjoy working hard. I enjoy the satisfaction of it. But still in my head, I've got this anxiety, and it's because we're a go, keep moving forward. And I'm a big believer in, moving forward, but we've got to do it whilst managing our resources. And that's what I'm trying to reprogram myself. So as much as someone's pulled the plug on me, as much as I feel that I'm rebooting, I'm trying to reboot in a healthy way. Because I've looked at it with Oak and Black, which we've hardly spoken about, but with Oak and Black, someone said to me, oh, well, why didn't you quit teaching a while back? And just said, well, first of all, and I never planned to quit teaching because I love teaching. I loved every part of my job. And the other thing is, if I had done Oak and Black on full energy, I would have run myself into the ground. And I'm busy enough as it is just now, trying to learn and do all aspects of the business. But if I'd have done that on full energy, I would have been in the mindset of go, and I'm going to try and be in year 10 when I'm in year 1. Where right now I'm coming up to the official end of year 2, and people say, how's it going? And my answer is simple: is I'm exactly where I need to be.
So it was kind of a blessing in disguise that you can't do this in full energy.
100%, and a huge lesson, because it's making me, live that self-team country mantra. You've got to take care of yourself first, and there's so many anecdotes about that. I won't bore people with them, but you have got to make sure that you're sorting yourself out. There's in the 7 habits of highly effective people who talk about take time to sharpen your saw. You could be at a tree with a blunt saw and working hard, being a busy fool, knocking your pan in, working your saw, trying to cut down this tree, and it takes you 8 hours, you get it cut down, fantastic. Or you could sit there, sharpen your saw for 4 hours, and then go and have one very effective hour and get that tree cut down. You've saved time, you've saved energy, and you're feeling good. So we don't need to run ourselves into the ground. We don't need to sacrifice ourselves to create. It's the opposite of creation. So I would typically, if I was in full energy and running a business, if I got up and felt, no, I wouldn't feel like this if I was in full energy, but if I would get up some days with fatigue, and I still try and keep a routine, still try and get up and have breakfast and whatnot. But after breakfast, I would, I'd scrub my pot and I'd need to sleep. I would need to go and lie down, as in it's just taking it all out of me. Or if I was just feeling a little bit drained or not quite up to it, back in the old days, I would have just forced myself through it and just plowed on and tried to get it done. Whereas what I do now is, if I'm busy, I've got stuff to do. If my body is telling me, mate, you're struggling, you need to take a time out, I'll now proactively listen to my body better. Not all the time, but better. And I will, instead of doing it, I'll maybe just go and lie on the couch, put some junk on TV, and just let myself doze. And then I'll just sort of feel into it, right? I might need a little drink or get some food, ease myself back into it. And then lo and behold, it might be later on in the day. It might be like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, but then, do you know what? I feel quite good. I actually feel quite refreshed. There's my to-do list. I'll just do one thing on that. And then you have a really productive couple of hours, and you've done all the amount of work that you would have done, but you've done it better in less time, and you're not stressed and you're not pushing too hard. We just sort of spend so much time fighting against life. It's like, just go try and get into a flow, and just allow it to happen.
I think it's great you sort of got to a point where know your mind and your body that well, because a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, it's what it's. I think it's the hardest thing, and I'm not, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm talking about it, which makes me more accountable to me to make sure I keep doing it.
Yeah, and you're talking about it from past experiences as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I've seen the other side of it. And and like I said at the start, instead of focusing on what you want to have and when you do, focus on how you want to feel. I remember having conversations with young people that are having to choose at the age of like 14, 15 subjects which would lead on to careers. So they're having to think what careers. People don't know what careers are available. Most people that have got degrees still don't know what careers are available, and but they're having to make these decisions. So instead of saying, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a policeman, and that, and making them make these big decisions, what I would try and do is just ask a simple question of, if you could get up tomorrow morning and do whatever you want to do, money's not an issue. So money's covered. So just pretend money's covered. You don't need to worry about that. You get up, you get up and do whatever you want to do. What do you do? And very few could really answer it, because they hadn't given it enough time. They haven't given enough space. And I remember one kid, and I love telling this story because he was hard work. He was a lazy bones. Lovely kid, but a lazy bones. And he wasn't doing his A-level coursework. And I knew he was more than capable, but he just wasn't getting it done. He was a bit of a slow burner, and very, very laid back. And I remember saying to him, "Look, ask them this question. If you can get up, and it's not a trick question. I'm not having a go at you. What do you want to do? If you can get up tomorrow and do whatever you want, money's not an issue." And he is the first person that was able to give me a good answer, straight up, authentic answer. He said, "I'd ride my dirt bike." I said, "I love it. That's a great answer." And he thought I was messing with him. No, that's a fantastic answer. You know what you want to do. You know what brings you joy. And I said, "Look, let's look now and work backwards from that and find a way to make that happen. So if you can create a life for yourself where you get up to you can get up and go ride your dirt bike, that's going to bring you happiness, and it means you're going to find a way to benefit and then pass all your good feelings onto the world." And I said, "Look, off the top of my head, I can think of 2 ways that we can make this happen. And there might be more, but off the top of my head, 2 ideas are popping." I said, "The first one is that you can really commit to riding your dirt bike, and you get so good at it that people want to sponsor you, put their name on your dirt bike and have you represent them. You get to ride your dirt bike all around the world, get paid for it. How's that sound?" "Oh yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, yeah. What's the chances of that happening? Does that feel realistic?" And he goes, "Nah, probably not." So like, right, okay, fine.
At least he was honest with that.
You know what? That's what I loved about it. It was pure honesty. He knew himself. He knew what he liked, but he also knew himself. He knew his traits. He knew what he was likely to do and not do. And then I said to him, like, well, another option that I can think of is, you have a career that that is obviously a relatively high level, that affords you the resources and the freedom to pursue it as a high-end hobby. Does that sound doable? Does that sound realistic?" He says, "Oh yeah. Well, that's doable." That's right. Great. Right. Let's start there. So we've got this sort of what you want to do. We've got how you might do it. Let's work backwards. So what might you need to do that? So, well, I'll probably need to, learn some skills. Great, good. Well, anything else? Well, I'll probably need a degree, because everyone's going to be quite competitive. Good. So you need a degree. So what do you need before that? Well, I need to get into uni. Good. What do you need to get into uni? Well, I need to get good exam results. Good. And then what else you need? I need to do my coursework. I said, bingo. You need to do your coursework. And he answered his own. Well, I wanted him. I knew he needed to do it, but he didn't see how it made sense. What's the relevance of me doing this? Why are you giving me this deadline? Why are you sort of making me do this work? As soon as he saw, this could help me get to this, which could help me get that, which could help me get that, he had answered it. He'd come up with it from himself, and he then saw the sense in it. So by doing that, it's the same in business. If we know what our passions are, start with that. Don't start with, oh, my dad's a lawyer, so I'm going to be a lawyer. Why do you want to be a lawyer? Oh, my dad's a lawyer, but why? Is it because he drives a nice car? Is it because you've got a real sense of justice? Why do you want to do this? And it's getting individuals to sort of dig deep into that and just sort of connect with, actually, well, why do I want to do that? People will go into nursing, teaching. These are all, or any sorts of careers that firefighters, police officers. Why do you want to do that? And if they dig deep, it might be, well, it's a safe job. There's always going to be need for them. There's a pension, or they're going to say, do you know what? I just got a real desire to help people. And there's always good people in the world. People are good, and until they prove otherwise, I'll always believe that people are good. Sort of drifting off point there a little bit, but find your passion and work backwards from that. And and it doesn't mean that you need to do it for the rest of your life. Things are changing. So when I'm 43 years old, I didn't expect to be in a second career at the age of 40. I am, but you're a young man. You might have had 3 careers by the time you're my age, and I think that will be normal. It's a lot more accessible now. We know you can't be what you can't see, and social media has opened up so many channels for people that they didn't know, careers that people didn't know existed, lifestyles that people didn't know existed. So everything's out there for us, and it's never been more accessible. So if I can't make a go of this business, it's 100% on me. Yeah, the opportunities are out there for people.
I think the chances people sort of miss out on through not trying out enough and changing their careers, if they're hating them, and thinking about thinking enough about what they actually enjoy doing and why they enjoy doing it.
Why do you think that is, though?
Because people get too comfortable with their salary. People get too comfortable with a basic job that they don't hate, but they have a level of comfort in it that they don't want to push outside their comfort zone.
Absolutely. You've nailed it. It's like being in a warm, cozy bed. It's safe. It's safe. It's known. And looking back at my career, I loved it. And there was variety within it, but it was safe and it was known. I can look back and be honest about that. It's a very, very comfortable job, very safe job. I'm not saying easy. It's not. I totally separate those out. It was always challenging. And it was something I took incredibly seriously. It was a huge responsibility, but it was still known and it was still safe. And like I say, I could grow as much as I could, but you're only going to be able to grow within the parameters that are physically there. So when I think young people are quite possibly a good bit braver now than what maybe generations before.
Do you think online helps? They've got access to all these people out there who are sort of like you on here, who are sort of encouraging them, talking about their past experiences, telling them to push themselves, go into these uncomfortable places.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, there's a lot of sort of nasty content out there, but there's also a lot of great content out there. There's a lot of good people who want to help. And it's all, I think, like, for me, it's all about your outlook and your attitude, and be positive. If you want to see a negative, you'll see a negative. If you want to see a positive, you'll see a positive. You're never going to have, it's not always going to be sunshine and lollipops, but it's certainly not always doom and gloom. You take a good friend of mine would always say, look, whenever you see these, like a natural disaster or something that's horrible that's happened in the world, look closer and you'll see good people helping other people. There's a lot of good in the world, and people need to focus more on that. But yeah, look, young people, it's there for them. And we don't know what's coming next. And every generation, like I suppose even my generation, the generation above, will always look at the generation. We'll say, oh, they don't work as hard, or they're doing this and they've got bad habits. It's just because it's not known to us. It's not our world. Their world is totally different to our world. Our world was totally different to the generation above. It's different. It changes. We evolve. It's what we do as a as a human race as we evolve. So we don't need to know everything. We don't need to be comfortable with everything. But even within a business, there'll be businesses that have struggled with, my God, it's all different. I don't know it, and as a boss, I feel I need to know everything. Well, do you know what? I don't need to know everything. I need to know what my strengths are, what I bring, and I need to trust this 16-year-old person that's going to come in at the bottom of my business. But do you know what? They might have some really good learnings for us. They might be able to help us more than we realize. And it's just sort of having that trust and being open and getting the right people around you, and accepting that you don't need to know everything. By God, I don't know everything. I'm not even close. But I've got a level of self-awareness which I think a lot of people have, and I think that's what we need, is to drive that self-awareness. I think I know what I know. I know what I don't know, but I also accept that I probably don't know a lot that I don't know. And it's just, again, create space, create time to be aware of that and be open to it, be open to new things, be open to, you're going to get, smacked in the face now and again. You're going to get hit from the side. You're going to have things that are unexpected that you don't know. How do we respond? What are the core values of the business?
The acceptance is probably the hardest part for people, I think. Sort of knowing your strengths and weaknesses, rather than sort of fooling yourself that you're good at everything, capable to do anything. Yeah.
No, definitely. No, you're absolutely right. And just allowing yourself, again, it's that sort of go mentality. We need to be all things to all people. We need to be all knowing. But leadership's changed. I wrote an article actually for the school website a couple of years ago about leadership has changed. The way people lead, the way businesses are led, the way teams are led. It's all about empowerment. And even if I look back to the last team I played in, it was about the more ownership the players had, the better the team performed. It's not looking for the coach's approval. It's not just sort of playing by numbers. It's actually understanding what we're trying to do because a collective. What are our strengths and weaknesses individually, and how can we give ourselves the best possible chance of success? Leadership in schools, leadership in businesses, leadership in teams. It's about those individual people. And if we were to wrap up, I suppose, everything, the only things that really matter are the relationships, our relationships with each other. And that's ultimately what matters. Business is all about people. That's all that matters. Business is so Oak and Black. You say, well, they're the guys that make those barrel bars, and they do custom gifting, and they do workshops. And Oak and Black is kind, creative, and sustainable. There's no pressure on anything else. It's kind, it's creative, it's sustainable. And if we're promoting these three things, we're getting our business right, because it's all about people.
And do you think that sort of having the experience of being part of sports teams your whole life has helped massively? Because a lot of people maybe haven't been in teams, so people might have started a business and they've never been in a team in their life. But whereas you've always been involved in teams.
I think that's a really great point, Luke. And I think what you're seeing a lot more, certainly in the last decade, is that transition from people that have been in high performing sports teams and delivering sessions to high performing businesses or businesses, so that they can take lessons. So there are lessons in each of them. For me, I've always done it. I've always wanted to be involved. I've always wanted to participate. I've always wanted to be around people, and I think having people around me energizes me. But I'm equally happy in my own space, and I think that's really important. Is getting the best of both. Not feeling the need to be around people. If I'd have really felt the need to be around people all times, I would have struggled when I had post-viral fatigue, because I was effectively in lockdown myself, because I couldn't do anything. And then when lockdown came, we couldn't see anyone. And I think a lot of people struggled with not being able to be around people. And I felt quite lucky that I'm quite comfortable in my own skin. And that, again, that's something that's been learned. But yeah, there are so many links from sports teams. I played rugby all my life. I used to play basketball and football as a kid, and just being around teams, learning to get back up when you get knocked down. It doesn't always go your way, so you develop resilience just through osmosis. It's things are happening. You have to react. You have to respond, and you have to choose how you're going to react. Referee might make a bad decision. It might make the right decision that you don't like, but you've got to deal with it. You've got to think about how you respond, and all we can control is our response. There's a microsecond in between something happening and how we respond, and that little space. My wife actually has written a book called The Space Between, which I'd highly recommend people go and buy that. It's a great book. And it's that space between, that little space between the sort of stimulus and response. That's what we've got control of. And it's learning to sort of slow things down enough to connect to that and sort of control that, because that's really all. It feels sometimes that's all we've got control of, is how we respond to things.
Do you think people overcomplicate it?
I think we overcomplicate everything. I think the best sports coaches make the game simple, no matter what the game is. Make it simple. Don't try to over control things, because you can't. It's get your players understanding their roles, get them understanding the bigger picture, involve them as much as you can. Companies will have their company values, companies will have their mission statements, but what does that look like to the guy at the bottom ladder who's packing the boxes, or whatever? Do you know what I mean? So we talk about, when we did with any rugby team that I coach, at the beginning of every season, we'll sit down as a group of people, because it's always a different group of people. And you can't just say, for a business, I know that if someone comes to work at Oak and Black, they've got to be aligned with the values of kindness, creativity, sustainability, and they've got to know what that looks like, sounds like, feels like on a daily basis. What does it look like if? What does it look like if? And you can go through sort of myriad examples. And I use that in the business because I know it works from a sports perspective or a teaching perspective, where we have agreed as a collective, and we've all had input. Everyone has to have the input. We have agreed as a collective how we want to be, what matters to us as individuals, what matters to us as a group. And then from that, you can then distill it down into your sort of core values. So with my women's team, for example, we distilled it down to the acronym. Well, it was not right. It was just the initials, WFC. So it's the Watsonian Football Club. But we are welcoming, we are family, and we are committed. Now, under welcoming, there might be several things that led to it being rounded up to welcoming. Same for family, same for committed. But what mattered was the behaviors. So we can say these things, but they're just words on a page. What does welcoming look like when the opposition arrive? What does welcoming look like when you're someone's taken your position? What does it look like when you lose? What do our behaviors for welcoming, family, committed look like when we've won a big game? How do we behave towards other people? So it comes down to relationships and behaviors. So in a business, you can say, right, these are our company values. All right, does everyone know it? Does everyone know what they look like, what they sound like, what they feel like? So people talk about respect in sport. What does respect look like? What does commitment look like? For me, I might say to someone, look, commitment to me looks like, excuse me, commitment looks like, I'm crawling off the field. I am physically, mentally, and emotionally spent. I've given everything. That's what commitment looks like to me. It might sound like me panting You know, it might sound like my alarm clock going off at 5 a.m. so I can get up and do an extra training session. So it's getting people to connect. Actually, what does this look like, sound like, feel like in a practical sense? Otherwise, it's just words on a page. It means nothing. It's all about behaviors. And do we behave differently with different people? If so, are you being authentic? There's lots of stories about this. There's lots of anecdotes of, how you treat the janitor shouldn't be different to the way you treat the CEO. And I 100% agree with that. I always remember feeling that in the school, it was really important to me to look after the people that look after us. So each Christmas, I would take presents to all the staff, and I'd make a point of going to the medical center, all the receptionists and secretaries, the janitorial staff. We had painters, joiners, plumbers, the kitchen staff, the house mothers who did the cleaning. So these are the people that look after us. We've got to look after them. We've got to show them appreciation. I'd give presents to other people as well, but everyone, it's all inclusive. And I think for me, gift giving is it's really powerful, and it's something that it doesn't take much, but by God, it's received well. And it's not even the thing. So I suppose technically I'm now in the business of producing things and stuff. And as much as my stuff I feel is beautiful, well-made, sustainable, long-lasting stuff, it's still stuff. It's the sentiment, it's the thought, it's the kind thought that goes into it. It's the acknowledgement. It's I see you as a human being. I see you. I appreciate you. We've all got busy lives. I won't always be able to show my appreciation every single day, perhaps, or show you what you mean to me every day. But there are times where I can give a small gift and just say, look, thank you, or well done, or I appreciate you, and it just works. It really just works. And people will look at a gift. Say you give a gift to someone, Luke, and they'll look at that every time and say, I remember Luke gave me that, and they will feel something. They'll feel something, and they'll think of you. Your picture will pop in their head, and they'll have a wee smile, and that is unbelievably powerful, and it's connecting. So I'm a big believer in that. I used to talk to the kids all the time about build your own brand. What is the brand of you? What is Luke Gordon, the brand? And the way to sort of gauge it is when you walk into a room, how do you think other people are feeling? How do they feel when you walk into the room? And if you're not thinking, I want people to feel positive, I want people to smile, I want people to feel good, then maybe there's an opportunity for a bit of introspection and a bit of sort of shifting of priorities. I've got good friends that maybe aren't the most qualified, in terms of what their academic achievements are. But by God, I'd employ them. If I get the chance to employ them, I'll employ them, because they're energizers. They are people that will put I'm talking about putting yourself first, but they will make you feel good. They won't necessarily put you first, but they'll make you feel good about yourself. They'll talk about you. They'll take an interest. When they walk into the room, you light up, you smile, you get a warm feeling inside because you've got positive memories associated with that person. And I think that's something that, we can all do a little bit better at. And that sometimes means giving yourself a bit of space, giving yourself a bit of time. And, how do I want to feel? How do I want to make other people feel? I think it's incredibly important.
Going back to that point about sort of giving, I think you sort of hear a lot about celebrities and all these billionaires. They can have all the material objects in the world, but it's not until they sort of give something back that they sort of feel that true happiness and connection that they've been missing.
No, yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. And that's what the joy is. Christmas time's coming up, or it may have passed by the time this is out. But you know, I think a lot of people will get a lot of joy from seeing the gifts that they give rather than the gifts they receive. And I think that flips on its head when you're a kid. Oh God, you just want to open presents and you love getting stuff, because as a kid you maybe don't have stuff, but as you get older, you've got so much stuff. You don't need stuff, but you do value the joy that it brings others, and you know, that sense of, oh, they've really thought about me. You know, I'd much rather have, like, my favorite presents now are the stuff that my nieces have made me. You know, that matters a lot to me. Or our goddaughters, you know, something from them that, you know, we saw our goddaughters at the weekend, and one of them did just a drawing of my wife, and then sort of cut out the face, and it sort of like a wee mask, and gave it to her, and we've got that. Well, I can see it here, and these are the things that really matter. So you get to that stage where you've just got so much stuff, you don't really need stuff anymore. I'm doing myself out of business here, but if you have less stuff but higher quality, I think that's better. And like you say, you know, with celebs giving stuff away, and the positive buzz you get from being a philanthropist. You know, I'd be a fantastic philanthropist. That's probably my dream job. My dream job is actually Father Christmas, because I could just not work, not need money, and just make stuff for people, help people. You know, still get to sort of help kids and work with kids, and that would be that's my sort of I suppose that's my sort of dream job is Father Christmas. So if there's anyone out there that can make that happen, you know, soon, if we really want to sort of look after people, we've got to look at everything. I think if we want to fix, we'll have this debate with my mates, and they're all like, "Oh, but it's never going to work." I know it's a little bit pie in the sky, but ultimately we've got to aspire to something. We've got to decide as a as a country, as a nation, as a continent, as a world, you know, how we want to be. You know, what actually matters to us as human beings. What should we be collectively aiming towards? And you know, people will always say, you know, well, we'll look after each other. We want to prosper. We want to educate. We want to look after the world. But then you have to break that down and say, well, you know, how do we do this? And these are the million dollar questions. I think, you know, just like with anything, you've got to start with that vision at the top, the goals, the values, the aims, and then feed it from the bottom up. So we need to sort of look at our education system. I think that needs a big overhaul. I think it needs looked at really, really carefully. You know, I'm not political, but I do feel certain things should be sort of protected and in their own, given their own consistency, and still maybe elected, but professionals that are running, like people who are in education, running the education system, rather than a politician who's very career focused, you know, and might not be doing it the next campaign. So if we get these goals, these aims, how do we want? If I just speak about the microcosm of education, how do we want? What is success leaving school? Is it exam results? Because, you know, lots of schools are just exams factories. My product was always confident, happy, contributing young people. I didn't know if I'd done my job until 10 years later, when I meet them on the street and they are, you know, a good parent, a good spouse, enjoying what they do, contributing in their own way, respectful, interested. You know, we need to create good people. We don't need loads of people who've got 5 A stars and, you know, manic depression or severe anxiety. That's not helpful to them, and it's not helpful to society. We need to create people who are comfortable in their own skin, that know that they are absolutely valued no matter what qualifications or labels they're carrying around with them. You know, we can wear all these badges, but sometimes these badges, we try and use them as protective armor. We're actually strip it all back, get rid of that. What matters? How do we feel within ourselves? And that's what we need to be digging into in education. And yes, we still need academic rigor. We absolutely do, because excuse me, we're always gonna need these, the big thinkers. We're always going to need doctors. We're always going to need economists. And you need your basics and your building blocks educationally for that. So I'm not going all wishy-washy by any means, but we need to look at getting that balance right of, are we creating happy, confident young people, or are we creating anxious little monsters? And I'm not calling the young people monsters, but are we creating anxious little monsters within ourselves that then influence how we are and what we do or what we don't do? So that's one microcosm. So we need to look at education, right? What is it we want to get out of this? And then how do we build that from underneath so that whatever we're doing becomes normal by the time a child is 7 or 8? It's absolutely normal that we start the day with a meditation. It's absolutely normal that we have a bit of time in the day where we're moving our body every day. It's normal that we're looking at what we're putting into our body and we're learning how to create that for ourselves, maybe growing our own food and making them part of the process. It's normal that we're really valuing looking after other people. So there's ways of doing it, and then there will be some schools and institutions that are doing it in their own ways. But we need to think bigger picture, and we need to start thinking, right, what does success look like when a young person leaves school? And it's not just those letters on a page, because at the end of the day, they're just letters on a page. They might represent a lot of hard work that kid's gone through, but for me, education, business, sports coaching, the results are not what matter. It's the value that you add that matters. It's right. So we used to do these tests that the pupils would do, and they'd all do these standardized tests, and it would then predict what they should be getting in every subject based on what pupils 2 years before got after doing those tests, if that makes sense. So it's sort of standardized testing, so you can sort of do predicted grades. So my department, being design of technology, we'd get kids in and it'd say, right, this kid's predicted a C, so he should be on track to be getting a C grade pass if he's doing everything right. And I'd be like, that, don't label a kid with that. Don't give them a restriction straight away. And they wouldn't always necessarily see it, but they were part of it and they did see it. But what mattered to me as a teacher was that I'm not interested in that. I don't care what you tell me you think he can get. I'm going to drill into this young person that if they do the best every day, which isn't always going to be the best, but it might be the best that day. If they're going to try and be a little bit better, they got that mindset and that love for learning, they're gonna achieve something. If they come into an environment that feels safe, where they can actually thrive, where they've got a bit of ownership, then they're going to punch way above their weight. So I'm not going to give them a ceiling. There's no ceiling, but I'm also not going to let them sort of disappear. So it's giving them that. A colleague used to say it really nicely. It's giving them the freedom to fly, but also be a net if they fall. And that's what we need to do. We need to help people, guide people, but not restrict them to our own personal comfort zones, which is often what we do as teachers is we will want them within the parameters of our own comfort. You'll have the teacher or the coach that will go around looking for the answer that they want to hear. But if a kid or someone comes up with an answer that's different, but actually bloody good, it's having the confidence to say, actually, I hadn't thought of that. That's really good. Dig deeper into that. What do you mean? Explore that. Or a kid might ask you a really probing question. You've not got the answer. I used to love that because I would just say, look, hey, I don't know the answer to that. Well, you find out and tell us all next lesson. That boom. It means I look authentic because I'm being absolutely authentic. They get, oh, right, God, this guy's human, but they also get the boost of, oh, he respects me enough to let me teach him. And I think that openness, that honesty is transferable in anything, whether it's parenthood, coaching, any sport, or in a business. And people respect that because it's the only reason. And again, I used to try and get this point across and still do that. The only reason that the teacher is in that position of, I don't like saying the position of power, but that position of influence, that child, the only difference is they were born earlier than they were. They were born several years before that kid. They're still on the same human journey. They're still human beings. So treat them with the same respect you would if they were the same age as you. They don't, but what they've not got the experience that we've got. So don't expect them to be maybe acting like a 25-year-old when they're 15. They're a 15-year-old. Their chemistry is all over the place. We have to empathize and understand that. They've got their own experiences. Everyone's got their own things going on. We have to understand that and nurture them and help them. But you can't expect it to be a pretty picture all the time. I think we again, and I can be quite bad for this. I'll usually visualize, right, what does this look like? What does success look? What does perfection look like? And I'd have to sort of keep reminding myself, you can aim for perfection, but you won't get perfection ever. But if you aim for perfection, you might hit excellence. And you know what? Be very content with that. If more things are going right than are going wrong, you're doing something right. But it's not always going to be pretty, and you have to accept that, and you have to learn with that. And that's the same in business. You've got to know the people around you. They're going to have good days. They're going to have bad days. You're going to have good days. They're going to have bad days. It's just trying to rise above it and not get caught up in the drama, and never allow yourself to be in that victim state.
Do you think one of the problems is that a lot of other teachers don't actually have this, like, express this mindset that you're sharing here?
I just don't think it's talked about enough. I know. So look, I'm not having a go. I work with amazing teachers, and I know a lot of amazing teachers. I'm not teacher bashing, at all. But it's not. I think it's about any successful team, class, business. It's all about the leader creating a safe environment. Now, that might be a leader of a department, it might be a leader of a year group, it might be the overall leader. It's all about having that safe environment where people can openly talk about what they need to talk about or come up with suggestions. So that, for me, that's the leader's job, is facilitating, and it's the environment, creating the right environment, role model the values that you're preaching. Don't expect others to care about it as much as you do, because why should they? They're caring about getting their salary and paying their rent, or feeding their family, or heating their home. They've got their own things to worry about. Don't expect your priorities to be their priorities, and don't take it personally when maybe they don't care as much. That's one of the biggest lessons I learned in middle management when I first started running my department, was, how come everyone's not working as hard as me? I said, well, why should they? Don't expect them to care about it as much as you care about it.
They don't have the incentive to.
Yeah, or it's not that high up. It's not as high up on their priority list as it is in yours. They still care about it, and they're still doing well in their own way. But why should they? It's like expecting someone else to love your kid just as much as you love her. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they don't dislike your kid. They might really like your kid, but they're not going to love it as much as you do, because it's not as high up in their priority list, and that's okay. And that's absolutely okay. So I've completely forgot why we got onto this. We're talking about sort of changing education and changing the world. But it look at it all. I think it's all connected. It all will link to, you know, how we sort of manage our businesses, how we are within our businesses, and like I say, it comes down to relationships and understanding ourselves, understanding each other, knowing that we're not perfect. I have, you know, what I call I have fat days. Well, say, mate, I just need a fat day. I'm going to lie on the couch, watch some TV, and eat what I want, and you know, and not beat myself up about it. Whereas if back in even a few years ago, I'd have felt guilty for that. Do you know what? It's okay. You're a human being. You're allowed to be a human being. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, do you know what? You're doing all right, mate. You're doing all right. You got through yesterday, you're doing all right, or really appreciating when you've had a great day. So gratitude has been huge for me, and just not focusing on what you haven't got, what you can't do, but focusing on what you can do and what you have got. So when I've been in that state where I've had no energy, or I've really struggled, or it's just been tough. Instead of focusing on that, it's focused on, well, do you know what? Yeah, you got to speak on a podcast today. How amazing was that? You got to, this week has just been an absolute carnage. So on Monday, my mum had a really bad fall, smashed her face. It was in A&E most of Monday. That was really hard for her, but obviously it's stressful for myself and my dad too.
Is she all right now?
Yeah, she's getting there. Thanks, she's getting there. She's got a bit of a kicker. But she's getting there. And then it was so cold that my laser cutter, the water in my laser cutter froze and broke the machine. So again, I've got orders that I've got to fulfill for people. That's out the window. Spent time trying to sort that, and then trying to find solutions, which meant this morning, luckily my friend allowed me to go into his school and use his laser cutter. So I was still able to process. But that totally changed up my week, where if it had gone nice and smoothly, today might have been different for me. I might have got more done. I might be more productive. I might have been further ahead. So I could choose to go, oh, I didn't get that done. I didn't get this done. I didn't get that done. Or I can say, do you know what? A couple of really horrible things happened on Monday. You managed it. You got through it. You get the best possible outcomes you could given the circumstances. You found solutions. You've moved forward. You're not maybe as far ahead as you could have been, but do you know what? You're still able to do all that. I didn't. It could have been very easy, like even a year ago, if my energy wasn't good, that would have been almost too much to cope with. But I knew on that Monday, when I got home, I knew, right, I need to give myself the best chance of succeeding this week. So I can stay up and do extra work and stress. I can't remember what I did, but I'm pretty sure I would have just said I would have gone to bed as early as I possibly could have, which might have been like 9 o'clock, and read and reset and give myself some space, and then get up and get on with it the next day. So you've got to give yourself, you've got to be fair. Like I said to you all before we were recording, fairness really matters to me. That's something that's a constant thread in my life. It's huge. So fairness is important, but what we've also got to do is be fair with ourselves and say, do you know what? If you need pulled up on your behaviors, you pull yourself up on your behaviors. If you need to actually acknowledge yourself and say, do you know what? I've done bloody well there. Give yourself a pat on the back and celebrate. Again, as a nation, we're not good at that. It's tall poppy syndrome, and you don't want to stick your head above because some people will have a go at you. They'll always find a go have a go at you. Forget them. Do it for you. The only person that you answer to when you go to sleep at night and you close your eyes is you.
Yeah, I think it's great you've brought that up, because sort of I was watching a video the other night, and it was talking about how everyone has the sort of these inconveniences, but the difference between people who fail and people who succeed is sort of the ability to cope with the unexpected hurdles.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure there's loads of great stuff out there on it and great examples. And it's mindset and it's attitude, but also it's, for me, like as good as as positive as I think my attitude might be, sometimes if I'm physically not right, my brain power is not there, and I can't cope with it. So it's then recognizing, I know that there's good in this, but I'm so close to it. I feel so stressed because there's so many things going on. All the wheels are falling off. Sometimes you've got to surrender. Like I said before, don't fight against it. Just sometimes you have to sort of take a step back. I'm allowed to swear on this, Luke.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it a non-sweary one?
No, it's not a non-swearing one. I think we've had a few curse words so far.
Okay, I'll try and not make it too sweet. There's a rude word in it. So sometimes you get days like that, or things that happen, and my response is, look, now and again, you just have to chuck it in the fuck it bucket and move on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's happened. What are we gonna do? Just deal with it. Chuck it in the fuck it bucket, and crack on. Don't the way I'd put it to kids would be, don't carry your banana skins around with you.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you give the same one to the kids?
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's like, don't carry your crap around with you, is what Tim would say, because then you're just carrying a bunch of crap. It's heavy, it stinks, and people don't want to be around you. So just if something happens, flush it, move on. Something bad happens, that flush it and move on. But yeah, I use banana skins with the young ones, because it's like, don't carry your banana skins around with you. There'll be a lot of slip ups. So and I think that's sport, but it's school, it's business. Oh, I didn't do well on that. I didn't do well on that test. Rather than sort of hold on to that and keep worrying about that you didn't do well on that test. Say, okay, right, okay, slow down. What was it that went wrong about the test? Okay, so you only got 4 out of 10, right? Okay, why did you only get 4 out of 10? Was it your comprehension of the questions? Did you try and answer it too quickly, or did you maybe not understand the work? Did you not do enough revision? What was it? Break it down, and if you address that honestly and go and give it another go, you're probably going to do better. So it's taking the lessons out of it. But if you don't get another shot at that for another wee while, there's no point worrying about it. Do what you can about it, and move on. Take the lessons from it, and sometimes, like, I think, I suppose my circumstance is quite extreme, but it often takes us to have a good failure to really be introspective and learn. What I try and say to, particularly with the rugby players, is, learn when you're winning. It's an absolute privilege if you've got that drive and that passion to learn and to improve and get better and aspire to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. When you're winning, oh, it's amazing. But I'd say I think every team that I've coached would have at least at some stage had a big setback that actually was a really good mirror. I say, right, well, why did we lose that? What was it? And as much as I want teams to learn when they're winning, it's often a bit more powerful when they've had a loss. As long as their attitude's right, as long as it's safe for them to feel that no one's going to be blamed. It's not a blame culture. It's just right, what can we do better? And it's the same in business. Celebrate when you win. Celebrate all the good stuff. But sometimes it's not going to go right. And that's when our true character is going to come out. All right. So Oaken Black's just, the laser cutters just broke. Right. How kind and creative and sustainable is Freddie going to be now that things aren't going his way? Because everyone could be great and there'd be fun time Frankie. They could be Mr. Morals when things are going the way. It's when things don't go right. You've got to actually, that's when your true colors come through. And if it's hard, you've got to work hard at that. If it's who you are, you don't have to work that hard at it. So yeah, kind, creative, sustainable. So kind to the people around me, kind to myself, not giving myself too hard a time. Creative, right? There's always a solution. I always believe there's always a positive solution. There's always a positive way out of this. There's something good that's going to come from this, and there's a way to get around it. So attitude's key. Looking after yourself is key. Making sure that you're giving yourself the best chance of success through looking after yourself, making sure you've got space to reflect on stuff, and being in a position where your resilience is good, but that when it does hit the fan, you're not wound up so tight that you just explode. There's got to be you've got to leave a little bit of wiggle room in your life. And this is what I'm talking to myself here as much as I'm talking to anyone else that's listening to this podcast. This is me talking to me here. So yeah, just that's, things aren't always going to go right. This week just itself, laser cutter broke. Mum has had a bad fall. It's obviously quite traumatic when your mum's in a lot of pain like that. The other way of looking at it is, I'm so grateful I've still got my mum. You know what I mean? So there's lots of people who say, "Oh, I wish I had a mum to have a fault." So it's about gratitude and appreciation, and do you know what? There's always a lot of good out there, and there's always a lot of positives going on. You just got to actually take the time to reflect and appreciate it.
When I was younger, my mum and my dad used to always tell me that there's always someone who would dream of being in the position that you're in right now.
Yeah, it's great advice. And when you're a kid, you're like, oh, whatever. You've got nothing else to go on. It's just what you know. But it's still good lessons, and you remember that. You remember that from all that time, because it's obviously, it hit a nerve. It struck somewhere, and it's, you connected with it on a level. But it's good advice, and I think that's it. It's the old attitude of gratitude and appreciation, and look at what you can do, look at what you get to do. Oh, I have to go teach this class. Oh, I have to coach that team. Oh, I have to go to work and do this. No, you get to. I get to go to work and make stuff for people and put smiles on people's faces. I get to give a young man an opportunity to have a job. I employ a young lad now who, he was on the Kickstart scheme, and I'm now finding ways to try and to keep him on. Well, I am. He's on the proper payroll now. So that brings me a great deal of pride in seeing how well he's coming on. And we've got another lad coming in part-time to build some experience, who wants to ultimately go on to do a joinery apprenticeship, but he needs experience. So yeah, come and get some experience with us. We'll find a way to make it a win-win. So much pride in that, and that's all good stuff. So anyone who's run a small business, don't underestimate the positive impact that you're going to be having on lots of people, and the positive influence you get to have. It's not that you have to go and do it. We choose everything that we're doing. We can choose to quit the job that we don't want to do, but it's safe, it's comfortable. You can choose to appreciate, actually, I'm having a big impact on someone's life. That's amazing.
Do you think a lot of business owners don't take that moment to sort of sit back and see that they actually have a positive impact on people's lives?
I don't know. I just don't know. I would imagine maybe not enough. But I think they should, and they should sort of take a lot of joy from that, because it's it's a big deal. It is a big deal. But again, running a small business or any business, there's so much going on all the time. There's so many plates to spin. And there's people have got so many hours in the day, and you only got so much energy, and lots of people will be running households as well, which by God is a job in itself. So they just need to stop and be fair to themselves and give themselves a pat on the back and say, look, God, I'm doing pretty bloody well here. But the focus might be on, if especially just now and austere times where energy prices are going up, and Christmas is here. This brings a lot of pressure to people, and understandably, people are thinking about saving money, making more money, and because ultimately, I know businesses should be about numbers, and this is where I need to certainly improve, and it's something that I'll be aiming to keep working on, is the number side of it. The people side of it is what I believe in. But I also know that you can do more good from a position of strength, if that makes sense. So it's like, yeah, I will always do. I don't wait to give back. I'll just give what I can. So I can't give a lot of money. I can't buy a table at a dinner, but I can donate some prizes. I can donate an experience. I can work with charities. I can use my skill set or what I can do to help. But the danger is, because obviously I love doing things like that, that takes up too much of my time, and I'm not bringing money into the business. So what I've discussed with people is having a sort of a set budget per year for what time and resources I can give, so that it's transparent and so that it's fair and clear, and fair and clear also to me, because like I say, I want to be Father Christmas, and I want to just make stuff and get, but I've also got to now pair that up with the reality that I used to be able to do that in my school holidays because I had a salary and a pension. I don't have those anymore. So I've got to balance it up. So it's all learning for me, but I'm very aware that is a key work on for me, is really nailing the numbers and really sort of drilling deep into that. And that's why I suppose I'm going to start talking about my business now, which I've not really done for the last wee while. But I've gone by the mantra of slow is steady, and steady is fast, and making sure that we're building it on strong foundations. As long as it's kind, creative, and sustainable, it'll be fine. I've got lots of different markets that I'm in just now. So I do sustainable awards for clubs and schools and businesses, where rather than getting a bit of glass or a bit of metal or a bit of plastic, you get a nice bit of oak, and it's custom engraved, and it's gorgeous, and it's tactile, and people love it, and it'll last forever. So that's a big market that I feel has got lots of potential. I've got the wedding gifting market. I run workshops where I use all my skills, my teaching skills, my coaching skills, my manufacturing skills, and you could come to me and spend a couple of days, and I'll take you through the process of creating your own barrel bar. Or you might want to come with a friend, a brother, a father, a mother, and have a shared experience. And you have the experience, which is actually the main thing, really. But then you get to take away the barrel bar at the end of it, and you've created a family heirloom. And then every time you look at it, your body will sort of feel something that will take you back to that time. And hopefully it's been a great time. And you'll look at that and you'll think about the shared experience you had with whoever you made it with. So I've got, and obviously just, corporate gifting, sort of general gifting and whatnot. So I've been sort of casting sort of lines out and just doing a bit of fishing and testing the waters, feeling out what markets are going to be best for Oak and Black. And as I alluded to before, variety is key for me. But I'm also aware that I need to drill deeper into some markets. Like the whiskey industry is quite it's bloody huge, and there's loads of great people out there, and there's loads of great companies doing great things and sustainably and kindly and creatively, and there's a lot of alignment there. I was very lucky that again through, I suppose, serendipity, through creating space, that we were up at McDonald Hotels in Aviemore last week, invited up to meet with our leadership team and stay the night and look at what we can do together. I wouldn't have, that almost felt too big a thing for me to come into my, into my thoughts. But these things happen. So it's like, there's from a conversation, meeting people that are sort of similar sort of mindset, and you just get talking. And I think, things happen. Things happen at the right time for the right reason, the right people. It's just giving yourself that space to let it happen. I alluded to a blog I wrote back in 2012 called "Never Trust a Skinny Chef." I also wrote another blog that same summer. That was my one summer I didn't have too much on, actually, and I really enjoy writing, and I did a bit of writing. And one of the other blogs that I wrote was "See a Penny, Pick It Up," and it was just all about. I was walking home off the bus and I saw a penny, I picked it up, and I just got thinking as to, see a penny, pick it up, all day long, you'll have good luck, blah, 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 blah. So I was reflecting on that, thinking about, where did that come from? Why did that start? What does that mean to me? And what it meant to me was, there are opportunities out there. If you want to find a penny, you'll find a penny. But it has to be on your radar. It has to be on your radar that you're looking for.
Yeah, you have to go actively searching for it. Yeah.
Or just have it in the periphery. Just if you get up in the morning and say something great's going to happen today, or I'm going to do something great, then don't think about it much more. I'm pretty sure something you live up to a label. Like I said with the children, if you give them a positive label, live up to that. If you give them a negative label, live up to that. If you say, today's going to be a crappy day, I've got this, that, and the other, you're going to have a crappy day because you've made the decision to have a crappy day. So give yourself the best chance of having a good day. I'm not saying it's always going to be a great day, but you can control your outlook. So if you say, right, I've got this meeting, it could be a tough meeting, it could be this, that, it's going to be a tough meeting. But if you say, I'm going to go into this meeting, I'm going to put my points across as well as I can. I'm going to make sure I take the time to listen to what they've got to say. I'm going to set the intention that we're going to get the best possible outcome. Then good things will probably happen. So it's just, we've not got that control, but we can give ourselves the best chance of success. And that's what I want to, do with Oak and Black, and, you know, do my best to stick to those 3 core values, try and look after people, try and help people create great things, try and promote it, and try and be braver with social media. I've got a great girl called Sophie Robertson. It's Sophie Loves Social, doing my social media. I've had a few other people before doing social media that have also been great, but Sophie's just so well aligned to, well, to me and what we do, that it just works really, really well. And she's helped really just sort of formalize what we're putting out, and we're never going to be short of content. And sometimes it's about just maybe not putting it all out there, but just keeping that going. And, you know, I get a lot of nice compliments on it, which is really great, because you know, I suppose it makes us look a little bit bigger than what we are. You know, our following is slowly growing, but it's all organic and it's all authentic. So every single one of those is high quality, and if that makes sense, I'm not buying followers. Do you know what I mean? So everyone that I've got is a sort of is really, really highly valued. And that's what I'd rather have. So slow is steady, steady is fast. The right things will happen at the right time. I'm comfortable with it. I don't need to be in year 10. I'm in year 2, and I'm exactly where I need to be. Where we go from here can be wherever. You know, I'm going to take 2 weeks off at Christmas. I'll do a bit of admin. I will do a bit of work, but it won't be all the time. And I'll have lots of space, lots of time to give myself clarity for 2023. One of my focuses that I think I'm going to really work on is the corporate side, where businesses come and spend some time with me in the workshop, and we either do a barrel bar, or we do something with their own corporate branding, or we do the stuff that, you know, I've done for 20 years at schools and coaching, where we look at, you know, let's look at your leadership, let's look at your company values, let's look at how we communicate with each other, but let's do that through a really fun activity that's creative, that's sustainable, that you can then take and have at your business and look at it every day, and takes you back to, oh yeah, we communicated really well there, or we had the janitor and the CEO working together, and actually we learned a lot about each other, and we connected on a human level. There's so much potential that I could do with it. But what I haven't done up to this point is put myself under pressure to do everything, because you can't do everything. But yeah, I think it's important that you do things that you love, that you see a point in that you feel that you can contribute positively to society in your own way. And we need all people doing all things, and, you know, following their passions. And for me, success was being able to take yourself out of it and it still functions. But I also need to accept that at the start of the business, and we're only still 2 years in, it's very me heavy. So I need to accept that it is year 2, not year 10. But by year 10, I'd like to think that I've got even more great people around me that frees me up to do other aspects of the business, where I'm not having to do all of it. But I think it's also important not to rush into these things or expect yourself to be somewhere where you're not. Like I said before, slow is steady, steady is fast. Be comfortable. It's sort of like, I suppose, financially live within your means. It's the same as that. Don't outreach yourself. I think you've still got to aspire, you've still got to have the dreams, but on a day-to-day, keep yourself in check of, you know, say, no, I'm doing well here, this is going well. And then just that consistency that we talked about earlier, just keep that consistency going within your business. I think consistency gives the people around you sort of confidence, and it gives them that feeling of security as well. And, you know, consistency of behaviors, consistency of this is how we do things, consistency of standards. So yeah, so don't underestimate the little things. Like I've got way more to learn than I could ever teach anyone about the business. You know, I'm new to it, very new to it, but I do have a solid understanding of the importance of people and the people around you. Surround yourself with like-minded people. And if I was going to give advice to people who are starting businesses or starting ventures or something new, don't expect everyone to care about it as much as you. Don't be heartbroken when people don't support it as well as you maybe would have supported them. I also did a little post called "Your Mates Might Not Be Your Market," where maybe it's the people that you don't expect that are actually more supportive. But it's also then on reflecting on that, because it hurt me a little bit sometimes. Like, well, people would say, "Oh, I see you're doing that. I see you're doing this. Or I see that you're doing that," and part of me saying, "Well, why don't you hit the like button? Why haven't you shared it? Why haven't you made a comment?" And I have to stop myself. I was like, well, it's unfair of me to expect that of them, because maybe they didn't like it, maybe they didn't share it, maybe because they didn't want to, maybe it's just not, or maybe they just didn't think about it, or maybe that's not how they use social media, maybe they just like to scroll. So you've got to sort of be mindful of that, and not let that be a barrier to you cracking on. I had a picture that I used to like, that used to keep me going quite a bit, which was work hard in silence and let success do the talking. And just sort of be content with what you're doing, where you're going, and you answer to you. At the end of every day, when you close your eyes, the only person that's there is you in your own head. So as long as you're happy.
Yeah, I think when you said your mates aren't always your market, I can relate to that a lot. By even just me starting this podcast, I found that.
What's the response been?
Well, it's been great, but it's not. So I didn't. I've not told any of my friends. I've not told any of my family, which is when I'd done stuff when I was younger. Maybe like I used to do a few little YouTube things years and years ago, and you're asking your friends to watch, you're asking your family to watch, and obviously not much. You weren't getting much from it, as in it was good fun, but like I think with this, the difference was I looked at it and I asked myself, why do I want to do this podcast? And it's because I want to learn from sort of other people, and I want to sort of share that with people that also want to learn.
No, look, you're absolutely on the right path, Luke, and your mindset's perfect for it, because so many people that you won't realize will be getting so much from the pods that you've done and the pods that you're going to do. And like I messaged you before, we're doing this as audio, but down the line, I fully expect you'll have your own YouTube channel. Then you'll progress to the next thing where you'll have your own studio, and it'll grow, and you'll make connections you didn't expect to make. But you've put yourself out there. You've shown a hell of a lot of courage, and doors are going to open up. And because you've made yourself available, you've put your hand up and said, "Look, I'm available. I'm an option here." No one else is going to do that for you. So good on you. And you're doing it for you. It's something you enjoy, you want to learn. And the best way I know I should have said it before, but if you help enough other people get what they want out of life, you might just get what you want. And I think it's just that sort of community spirit of it is like, yeah, you're learning, you're getting something from it, but you're doing that in a way that benefits other people. And my big belief around my business, where I see there's lots of people do similar things to me. Okay. And I need to make sure that my points of difference are the quality and maybe the service and the sort of personal touch. But also there are a couple of people that do really good things. And my view is there's enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody. We've got to move away from this sort of stingy mindset or the defensive mindset. I've had people ask me, how do you do that? How do you do this? So what I did was I just created videos. So this is how I make a barrel bar. You can go and watch it you can go watch it on my website. If people ask me questions, how do that? Ask me. As long as I'm promoting kindness, creativity, and sustainability, I'm winning. So if people come and say, I do markets and stuff to let people see the products and hopefully make a few sales or plant a few seeds or build the brand. People, there'll always be people there that look stuff, take pictures, and want to ask how it's made so they can go make it themselves. I'll say, look, if you can go make that yourself, do it. Send me a picture. I'll promote it. I'll put it on my page that you made that. That's promoting creativity. That's been my career, has been promoting creativity. I'm not going to sit there like a little miser, not letting you take a photograph because you want to know how to make a £10 bottle opener. Do you know what I mean? So you can come and do a workshop with me. I'll take you through the entire process of building one. There's enough for everyone, and there's very few things out there that are new ideas. Even the ideas I've come up with inventions, and then I realized, oh, someone else did it. I say, oh, but it doesn't make it any less creative, because it was still, as far as I was aware, it was an invention. It was new. It was brand new to me, and I thought about it differently. But just because someone else had thought of it, so there are very few new ideas out there. It's actually just about the execution. And I know that my business I could be successful in terms of numbers if I took one of my products. For example, I make custom chopping boards, and they're really nice personalized.
I saw those. I had a good browse through everything on your website. I saw the rugby stuff. I saw you were advertising about saying if you wanted to get your sports team's sort of your sports team's logo on something to get in touch and things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, again, I do things authentically, so I'll never use anyone's intellectual property without permission. So, like, even just today, I was actually messing with an auto club, of all things. It's my first auto club. They're doing a sort of big rally, and I'm making the awards for them. And I just to make sure everything's all above board, I'll say in the email, I need you, on the headed email, I need just to put a little statement saying that you give permission for me to use your logo. And the reality is, no one's necessarily going to challenge it if it's for them, but it just means that I'd rather be belt and braces than have my pants fall down. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to get, I wouldn't do something now that's going to catch up with me later on. It's not worth it. So I think being authentic and doing things the right way is really, really, really important and matters. But yeah, if I took one product, whether it was, so when I was doing the chopping boards, I didn't find a good wood conditioner that I liked, so I made my own. So I make my own all natural wood balm, which is, and I'll tell you the ingredients. It's mineral oil, it's beeswax, and it's tung oil. So you combine those three, and I make them in pots and I sell them to folk. I know that if I took just that product and drilled down into the right markets and set up processing to make that, I'd probably make more money. But I know I'd get bored. And this is what I've got to sort of iron out. I didn't get into it for that, but I'm also open to the fact that if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, we really love your wood balm. We're a huge distributor. We need 1 million tubs of it each year," then, part of me is going to be like, right, well, hold on. I need to be sensible here. Let's set this part of the business up. Let's get that up and running, get my systems in place. Everything else sort of gets a pin put in it until this is up and running. And once that's up and running itself, I can then put my focus elsewhere. So my eyes are open. So as much as I need that variety, if my dream is that, like, big brands like a Johnny Walker would come to me and say, like, Freddie, oh, we want our branding on your barrel bars. We need 50 units or 100 units a month. Do you think I'm still going? You still think I'm going to be doing markets? No, because my focus is going to be on getting that set up and getting systems up and running for that. I'm not going to be maybe focusing as much on individual things. So I'm very realistic with that. But just now, it's exactly where it needs to be. I'm still fishing. I'm still looking. I'm still exploring. I'll never stop exploring, and I'll never stop being open to, opportunities coming the way of Oak and Black. I'll never stop being grateful, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. As long as it remains kind, creative, sustainable, it'll be whatever it needs to be. So yeah, so anyone who's looking to start a business, just dig into those things. How do you want to feel? Make a start. It's all about execution.
Out of everything we've talked about, the kind, creative, sustainable, that's what's probably going to stick the most.
It's not. It keeps it simple. For me, it makes it easy. If Luke Gordon comes to me, puts his CV across my door when, 10 years down the line, when Oak and Black's a multinational, Luke Gordon comes, listen, I want to do your podcast. I want to do PR, all this sort of stuff, or whatever you're doing then, I'll say, right, hold on. Okay, you might be the most qualified person, but do you align with the values? And then that comes about through something like this, where we actually get to connect and talk and learn about each other. And say, actually, do you know, actually, Luke is a really good fit. But if someone else came in really qualified, great CV, but didn't align, maybe the kindness wasn't there, maybe they were, really nice to the people that they thought mattered, but then a bit of a tool to others, that doesn't work, because it's not authentic. And I think my mum always said that, my granddad used to always say, if you're going to be a liar, you need to have a bloody good memory, because people don't forget. And I've not got the memory, and I've certainly not got the brain power. So the easiest thing is just be honest, and be authentic. And if you align, you align. If you don't, you don't. It's not the end of the world. You're not there for everyone. I know, and more experienced people in business than me I'm sure will say, find your market, know your market. And I'm in the process of finding my markets from a business sense. But in terms of people and characters that will be in and around the business, there'll be ones that very much align to those three values, and that keeps it very simple for me. As a pupil, make it easy for me. As a player, make it easy for me. Make the game easy, and I'll have fewer things holding me back. Same in business. Know your basics. Know how we want to be. How do you want to feel? A general direction of where we want to go, until you've got specific destinations that you want to go. And just put one foot in front of the other.
I think that's a great way to sort of end it there. I think we've talked about absolutely loads. It all relates to what you've been saying.
Magic. Well, I've absolutely loved it, Luke, because I've probably the most I've chatted for a while. But again, it's on my daily habits is talk more. Again, I think guys are quite. Again, certainly I was quite a silent one growing up, and I think it's important that we just role model talking and being open, and everything on the table, and it's okay. Look, I think it matters, especially for guys, to hear. When I talked about depression, anxiety, let's make that normal. Everyone struggles with it sometimes, so let's talk about it, and let's talk about positive solutions. Let's talk about how we help each other and make a way forward. So yeah, it's on my list to talk more. I've certainly talked tonight. Hopefully people are still listening at this point, but it's been a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you inviting me on.